Hello and welcome to the Miss Rolling podcast. As usual, my name is Jacob Staten, and as usual, I'm joined by JJ Armstrong. JJ, how the devil are you?
Fantastic, thank you, Jacob. January's over. The January transfer window is shut, so we can stop speculating. I know it was an exciting month, but we're into February now. Jacob, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Thank you. Bit of a change of venue for me. I'm back in the house now. The girls are sharing the bedroom.
That makes it sound like you've had your marching orders.
I've got me Worm Rub Scrubs uniform jumper on. No, I'm top of the shop, mate. Thank you. Top of the shop.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Glad to hear it. So we're going to jump two-footed tackle into the Arsenal game, which was Tuesday night. So the starting 11, Nuno started with 3 changes from the side that drew with Bristol. Toffolo, Morgan Gibbs-White and Williams all brought back in. Mangala retaining his place despite his links with a possible move, which obviously came true. We'll talk about that later. Yates and Hudson-Odoi dropped. We'll talk about that in a second. With Tavares ineligible, obviously, because he plays for Arsenal. Felipe, Elanga, Awunyi, all back from injury and on the bench. I think the thing that stands out most for me in all of that, because there's quite a bit of business in that, isn't there, really? But I think the thing that stands out most for me is Ryan Yates being dropped. I thought he was 100% nailed on first name on the team sheet for this game.
Yeah, I was very surprised not to see Yates start. He's exactly the type of player you want in this circumstance, I think. And Mangala, at the time, rumoured to be moving onwards, and subsequently, as we'll discuss later, has been moved onwards. So thought it was a very interesting one that Yates didn't start this game. And I think if there was anybody that he could have replaced, I possibly would have swapped him for Danilo, who's had a few, moments of promise, but still not quite been there consistently this season. But I thought Yates would have been good, but I think largely happy with the starting 11. Williams on the wing was very interesting. Quite damning to Hudson-Odoi, I would say, that, a fullback got the shout over him. I guess you could argue that it's to double up defensively on that side. He did make a cameo against Bristol on the wing, and I thought he looked quite promising. So
I think he was probably our best player.
Yeah.
He only came on the second half. He was probably our best player.
Yeah, I thought he had a great game, but interesting to see him put there from the start. I think maybe questions need to be asked of whether that's just his position. Maybe he needs to drop the fullback gimmick and just push up a bit. He is a very good player. Yeah, interested. And obviously the major positive going into this is that we had the return of Felipe, Elanga and TAIWO on the bench. Jacob, I posed to you this question. If they are available to play minutes, should we have started with Elanga and TAIWO and gone for it from the start?
Well, we'll come on to discuss the first half in a second, but after that first half, my answer would be no. If you're asking me pre-game, I think, you know what, I think I'd still say no. I don't want to risk any further injury. I think I'd rather get a nice concentrated performance out of them with kind of 20, 30 minutes rather than 55, 60 and stretch the legs and risk injury again. But I think particularly after what happened in the first half, I think it was the right decision.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought that Nuno was a bit more proactive in that he wanted to go for the throat, is what it looked like from the games we've seen of him thus far. But this is a much more conservative, low block type of game. But I guess Arsenal are quite a good side, whether we like to believe it or not. They are good. So this was an effective way to combat them. And I think we'll go on to discuss the first half now. But is effective the right word for that first half?
Yeah, I think very effective. I think, I'm reading here, they had 81% possession in the first half. That meant absolutely niche, in my opinion. I thought we were very good defensively. I thought we were very solid, very organised. Arsenal were always trying to do the classic. They always try and walk it in. They looked extremely ineffective. And I was very pleased going into halftime.
Yeah, I think the first half was incredibly dull to watch.
Oh, yeah.
And as frustrating as it was for us to watch, imagine how frustrating it would be to be on the other side as an Arsenal player. So I think that's where we got it right. The first half stats were that Arsenal had 81% of possession, but they didn't do much with it, which says a lot. And I think they looked to me like a team that were quite overworked and overcoached, like they just tried too hard, which they were ineffective. We were effective. Didn't look pretty, and I'm sure there'll be many people complaining about the lack of anything really from us other than just absorbing it and soaking it up. But sometimes you've just got to do that, and we did do it and did do it quite well. And I think whilst we struggled to get any real foothold in the game and spring much forward, you could tell there were moments where, with the right personnel on, if it's still 0-0 at 60, 70 minutes, bring the pace merchants on and maybe we can get at them when they're going to go gung-ho for it. So at half-time, I felt, whilst this is dull, I think we're on something here, and I think there's a chance, unless we gift them something completely avoidable, there's a chance that we can get something from this game.
Absolutely. And then at half time, he makes a substitution. I probably wouldn't have expected at half time, if I'm being honest, but he brings the returning TAIWO Awoniyi on for Chris Wood. Now,
Bosh, before I'm going to stop you there. It's a great segue,
right
Jacob. Speaking of TAIWO Awoniyi, our sponsors at Football Prizes have a TAIWO Awoniyi signed shirt up for grabs, which you can enter in the description now. Sorry for interrupting you, Jacob, but this prize is mint. So I thought I may as well put it on screen, but there you go. Links in the description, footballprizes.co.uk for those that are listening. It's a great prize, and they are very generous sponsors. So all the best to you if you're entering it, and try and continue this streak of winners from the Miss Rolling In podcast. Back to business.
A wall right here, wouldn't it?
It would look good. You're not allowed to enter, Jacob.
We're not allowed to enter, as JJ well knows. So yeah, the second half starts and Arsenal break the deadlock, don't they? Or more importantly, Gabriel Jesus does. There's a bit of scrappy play down the right hand side. Neco Williams has the ball. I think it was a foul on Neco Williams, if I'm being honest. There's a bit of a coming together. It's an odd one. It's like when goalkeepers get tackled or fouled or go anywhere near an attacking player and they go down. It's like, do I think it's a foul? Probably not really. Is it given every other time? Yes. They take a throw in quickly. Gabriel Jesus comes down the line and puts it straight through Matt Turner's legs and into the back of the net. It should never have gone in. It's yet another mistake that's cost us a goal from Matt Turner. And I am completely titsed off with him. I can't put it any other way.
Is that Tisdoff or Titstoff?
Titstoff.
Right, okay. Just wanted to clarify. I don't think it was a foul, but regardless of whether it is or not, I think we shouldn't really be switching off at that point.
Can you see my point, though, about...
Oh, yeah, I can see why it would be given.
Yeah.
But with the beauty of hindsight and looking back on it, I don't think it was. But at the time, I did think it was. But still, be alert to the situation. You've got to react dynamically to what's going on. The free kick wasn't given, so obviously you sit on the floor as much as you want, but the players around Nico need to react, and we didn't. And I think it's probably a bit harsh to criticise him too much for not reacting dynamically to that situation because, well, it shouldn't really go in from that angle. Looking at it back, Jacob, I think you mentioned that it should possibly have gone down as an own goal because from some of the angles, it looks like the ball wasn't actually going in.
No, yeah,
but
absolutely.
It hit his leg and did go in. So, yeah, another Turner disaster class. And every Forest fan is bored of listening and hearing about the errors that are costing us vital points. And I thought that we'd set up well to be effective enough that if we remained in the game, we could probably get something from this. But people say we almost start a goal down because the inevitable howler from Turner is going to cost us, and that's what it felt like here.
Yeah.
Because we'll go on to talk about the end of the game, but there's definitely a chance for this to work. So very frustrating, and now the January transfer window is done, which again we're going to talk about later in the episode, but I just hope we can put this behind us and just not speak either about Matt Turner again, but just not speak about a goalkeeper error. I hope the person that's come in just is fine. I just want someone to be okay. Not have to talk about it maybe the odd one every few weeks will be fine for me. Not one every game, or at least one every game. So beyond frustrating, I just, you sit there and you just think, oh, it was all going so well.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's an odd. It's not an odd one, is it? Like every other game he gives an opposition team a goal, and then the game in between he gives them a chance to score a goal. It's gone as far as it needs to go now, hasn't it? And I know you're not a huge Vlachodimos fan. I'm not particularly, but I'd always play him because at least he doesn't give them that.
Well, no one's a fan of either. If you ask me every time who's the lesser of two evils, I will pick Vlachodimos over Turner every time. There is a good keeper in Vlachodimos based on his save percentages for Benfica. He was just okay, which is fine, and we only need someone to be okay. But for whatever reason, he feels cursed at this club.
Yeah, I mean that save percentage stat, that thing doesn't take into account bangers, though, does it?
That's for Forest, but I mean he was adequate for Benfica.
Yeah.
So there is a good keeper in there somewhere. It just hasn't happened, and now we find ourselves stockpiling more and more keepers. It's just, I think we'll go on to discuss the January transfer window and the incoming keeper in more depth, but it just feels like an area of recruitment that we've let ourselves down on. So I can't be bothered to talk about Turner anymore, unfortunately.
Well, from Turner onto Gonzalo Montiel, who, despite being told to calm down by Morgan Gibbs-White, smashes a pass straight on the ground back to Arsenal, who I think it's one or two passes, the ball's across the pitch to Bukayo Saka, and he just... you don't want to talk about Matt Turner. I think it's an extremely savable shot. He does his very best to push it into the far corner of the net, making it look better than it was. But I think it's very savable, and it's 2-0, and theoretically game over, isn't it?
I believe the term is you play with feathers, you get your bum tickled, Jacob, and you make mistakes in this league and you get punished, and that is exactly what happened. Unfortunate, because up until that moment, get some composure back, Jacob. Come on, you're fine.
You can't make Max and Paddy jokes and expect me to have composure, mate. Come on.
I censored it slightly, so more fit for purpose. But I thought up until that moment, Montiel was having quite a good game. He was heading away everything. It was fine. He was doing well. And he just let himself down there. And he has been prone to a few errors so far for Forest. So
yeah,
it is what it is. I think it is slightly savable. Maybe not for Matt Turner, but 2-0 down, that's it, game over. And I think that 2-goal lead, I thought we're not coming back from this.
No, and then in the interim, Anthony Elanga makes his return, which is really good to see.
Sorry, Jacob sent me something in the private chat here, which is not safe for work, but it's thrown me. I need to retain some composure myself.
Max and Paddy related.
If you want to guess the Max and Paddy quote that he's written, put it in the comments.
So Anthony Elanga came back, which is great news. A man whose stats are way more impressive than his performances, in my opinion, but that's all that matters, isn't it?
Meow.
Woof. And then we managed to claw a goal back, and TAIWO does what TAIWO does best, and that is somehow end up in front of the goal with the ball at his feet and smashes something into the back of the net. He is a poacher first class. He's the kind of player I think Arsenal would thrive with. But yeah, and then it's back on, and we make a really strong push for the last 10 minutes of the game and into injury time. It's the kind of push that we didn't do. I'm trying to remember the games, JJ. Was it Bournemouth at home? It was 10 minutes added on time. We didn't really push to be.
And Brentford. The last 10 minutes of Brentford was woeful.
Yeah. Whereas this time, I felt that we were trying to force the issue and get a goal and probably deserved one. So that was a real positive for me towards the end of the game, that we could have one slice of good fortune. We could have ended up with a point there in a game that we definitely didn't deserve any.
Well, yeah. There was I don't know if you could class it as a good save, but there was a save from another TAIWO effort from Raya. I just love TAIWO, and this brief cameo was enough to just remind you why we love him, because he's chaos, and his goal was beautifully taken, but he made it look like it was an accident. He's got this habit of making brilliant finishers look clumsy. I love the guy, and this was him at his rustiest. I think.
Yeah.
Wood apparently couldn't carry on. I think he has played a lot of minutes lately, so that's why the change was a
He
bit
did do,
enforced.
he did do a lot of chasing down at the start
He
of
did,
in the
yes,
first half, didn't he? A lot of
yeah,
chasing
a
down.
lot of work to do for him. So I guess TAIWO wasn't probably ready to do a full 45, but if this is him at his rustiest coming back into the game, then can't wait to get him fully fit and firing again, because he's going to be very important to us if he can stay fit. Less concerned if he can't, because I think Chris Wood has proven himself really well in his absence. But yeah, a fit TAIWO changes the game quite a lot.
I'd love to see them both. I'd love to see them both. Really, really would. I think they're different enough to be effective. They both work really hard. They're both in well, Tyro's obviously been injured, but he's in form before and he's already back in form. Wood's in great form. I'd love to see some kind of formation that makes them both work.
Yeah, even if it's the last, throw the dice and we're under the caution, only one of them started, just chuck them both on and let's see what happens, I think.
Yeah, but there's no plan there, is there, with that? It's just get the ball forward, isn't it? I like to see it from the start. I'd like to see, because obviously Nuno at Wolves played some kind of 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, didn't he? I'd love to see him mix it up a bit, because he's been quite strict with the 4-2-3-1, hasn't he, so far?
Yeah. Yeah, but alas, it didn't work in this game. 2-1, which you said we didn't deserve anything, but I think had it not been
I
for
meant
that,
towards the end of the game, from being 2-0 down to 2 mistakes.
yeah,
That's what I mean. I don't mean like
yeah,
in the first half we were very effective, set up right. 0-0, we deserve to go 0-0. You make 2 mistakes at home.
which falls under the category, Jacob. Go on, say it.
Avoidable goals.
There you go. Bingo. Every week. We're not going to say this as of next week's episode, because the new keeper's going to be brilliant.
We need a days since an avoidable goal, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We do. It'll always be at 0.
It'll always be at 0.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could have got something from it. Failing for that,
Should have.
Unfortunate. Should have. Yes.
Yeah.
Just beyond frustrating. But we go again, as they say, Jacob.
Yeah, I mean, last thing I want to say about the game, because it was equal parts dull and heartbreaking, was it's a positive performance in that we're saying we should have got a result from the performance. You look at even the games that we're losing under Nuno. Bournemouth, it's fair to say we were cheated by a refereeing decision. We still had a spirited performance. JJ's going to remind Brentford.
Espirito
Performento. Brentford was the same. Cheated by a convicted cheat. And then this game. The only ones that have been uninspiring are the League Cup game, the FA Cup games against lower league opposition, because he tries to play them like we're playing Man United.
Yeah, when we go to discuss Bournemouth, we'll look at the tail of the tape, and it's in terms of the Premier League last 5 games, it's not looking too bleak. It's looking a little bit bleak, but not terrible. There's still 2 fat nubs within there, as the kids say. But when it's hard to remember that when you factor in the recent FA Cup games that have just felt a little bit painful. So, yeah, maybe it's not all doom and gloom, Jacob.
No, it's not all doom and gloom. And that's going to bring us on to the January transfer window. Yeah, so incoming, we had Gio Reyna on loan from Dortmund. There is no permanent signing fee in there. There's no clause in there that we can activate. He also signed an extension to his contract with Dortmund as well, so that looks very much like a loan. We signed Matt Seltz from Strasbourg. He was at Newcastle 6 years ago as a reserve keeper. Can't wait to see what he can do. And Rodrigo Ribeiro, who, despite my crippling Football Manager addiction, I have never heard of. But yeah, I can't wait to see what they all can do. I think the most exciting one's clearly Gio Reyna, isn't it? Nice to try and wedge him into the team somewhere. I imagine he's probably going to play mostly on the wing, if I'm being honest. Unless his signing is the kind of Nuno's going to swap to some kind of 3-5-2 and have two attacking midfielders or something like that. I don't know. It's an interesting one to see how he's going to shoehorn him in, because I imagine he's going to want to play most minutes, if not all minutes.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of an experiment, this one, because he's got a lot of potential. He's both put in some good performance for Dortmund and been frustrating for Dortmund. So could go either way, but I think the potential, the fresh start, could be what we need and what he needs, which works for both parties. So interested to see. I can't really comment on him because I've not seen him that much. I just hope it works out. I guess it's not really that much of a gamble, because if it doesn't, he's back at his club. The fact that Dortmund extended his contract's probably a good sign, because it means they see that there's potential in him to not just want to get rid. So, yeah, hopefully. All I know of him is obviously the scandal that took place with the US men's national team, which sours your opinion of him slightly, because it makes him come across as a bit of a baby. But I'm sure that's not the case. Hopefully,
I've also heard that was more of a fallout of the families as well.
yeah, once families and best friends get involved, it's all a bit weird, if you ask me. The whole story is odd. But I guess to what element is he just mixed up in that and just paints a little bit of a bad picture in his name? So, yeah, let's see what happens. That's all I can really do, I guess, for all of these, because the other two are very unknown. Matt Sells has come in as a replacement for Turner. We were linked with a lot of goalkeepers. Jacob, I think you've got the list somewhere of who we were linked with.
I have got the list. Here we go. And this list is not good reading for me, as in I'm disappointed with what we ended up with. But apparently we tried 4, and this is included, but I imagine not limited to, David De Gea, Aaron Ramsdale, Kelleher from Liverpool, Rui Silva. I'm not going to guess where he's at, JJ. He's going to tell me.
I don't know. Real Betis? I'm making it up.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. Sam Johnston from Palace, who obviously Dean Henderson's just ousted him, hasn't he? Jack Butland from Rangers, who appears to be back in form and playing first team football, and Cohen Castiles as well from Wolfsburg.
And where would you rank Matt Sells if you had to put him in that list? Where would he place on how much you want him?
Absolute last.
Rock bottom.
Rock bottom.
Yeah.
I think if I'm being honest, clearly I'd like David De Gea, but I think he'd probably want thick end of 150 grand a week when he's something like that. Sam Johnston would have been great. Butland, I would have been interested.
The fee for Johnston was high. It was like 15 million, and I think
he is very good.
Henderson for that. He is good. I'm not sure. I think it's a lot of money, and I guess they don't want to sell to a relegation rival. Kelleher would be great.
Ramsdale would only ever be short term, wouldn't it? There'd never be any chance of permanent there. Rui Silva, I've never seen him play, but I imagine he's decent if he's at Real Betis. Jack Butland, if he's in form, he's in form. Remember when he was very young and he went to Stoke, he was exceptional. Cohen Castiles, I've only ever heard good things. Yeah, it's just an uninspired signing, in my opinion, Matt Sells. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's the second coming of Peter Shilton, the player, and not Peter Shilton, the person. But
controversial, but yes, I hope
there's nothing controversial about that.
I don't know, so I'm assuming there's some bigger story to this, which Jacob will tell me after
the
podcast.
Go on Peter Shilton's Twitter and just scroll through it for 15 seconds. You'll agree with me.
Oh dear. I hope he's brilliant, but I can't comment on him because I haven't seen him. But from what I've read and seen, stats wise and clips wise, dare I say, he looks a little bit Turnerish. But apparently Nuno wants him. I don't know if I buy that at all. Apparently he was like Nuno's number one choice, which he can't be when the
which is
list
exactly
of
what the marketing department would say about anyone that you sign.
Yeah, the first choice after the 15 that you've just mentioned there. I don't get it. And now we're stockpiling keepers. Obviously Horvath went, but we've got Sells, Turner, Vlachodimos, and Hennessy. I would say, yeah, well, I guess he's more youth, but I'd say only 2 of them can get in the squad on a match day, but that's not true because there's 2 on the bench against Arsenal for some reason. So there's going to be an unhappy goalkeeper somewhere unless we put all 4 of them on the bench. Maybe all 4 of them on the pitch in goal might actually help us not concede as many.
They'd find a way, mate.
They would, but I just think it's a very odd one. It doesn't feel first choice to me. He will be our new number 1, so I hope he's right. Hope he's the right fit. Giving him a 3-year deal when potentially this feels like a short-term solution. Like, is he going to be number 1 next season? I'm not sure. So it all feels a bit weird. I just hope he's okay. That's all I need him to be. If he's better than okay, brilliant. But I just hope he's adequate enough to help keep us up, because at the rate of Matt Turner and Vlachodimos, they were looking to cost us any potential of staying up. And the good news is with this new keeper, we can start training again because unfortunately, when they started training with Turner, he kept kicking the balls off the field. So we'll actually be able to train again. So good news. I hope he's right. I hope everybody on Twitter is wrong. Promising signs that the Strasbourg Twitter fans had a little bit of a meltdown when he's left and said how good he was. Hope they're right. Eye test, for me, he hasn't passed. Stats-wise, his percentile's quite low in comparison to a certain Mr. Samba. So
he is playing for a rubbish team, though. He is playing for
Forest.
Yeah.
He is.
He's managed by Patrick Vieira, isn't he? That's who he's at.
Oh, is he? I didn't know who. That's who he managed now. Yeah, we needed to get this right, and from this point onwards, it looks like it might not have been the right choice. But here we haven't seen him play yet, so let's find out. We were wrong about Serge Aurier, Ryan Yates, Chris Woods. So I certainly hope we're wrong about this guy.
Absolutely. And once again, I hope he's the physical embodiment of Peter Shilton.
I'm really intrigued to find out what this is now, but anyway.
So we also
is it an Alan Hardy situation where he's got his thing out in Bath or something? Anyway, we'll talk about this
a little bit more out of right field than that.
Okay. Rodrigo Ribeiro's come in.
We know nothing about him because nobody does. It's come from Sporting Lisbon. We also looked at Chubarak Pom and Carlos Borges, or Forbes, whichever one he wants to be known by, from Ajax. But neither of those, but both are. I think I've read that their manager, I don't know who it is, decided to keep Borges, and Akpom just fell through at the last minute, didn't it?
I was quite relieved about the Akpom thing falling through and just didn't get it. I didn't feel like it was necessary. As always, if he came in, I would have welcomed him, even though I've just made it sound like I hate Sells. I don't, for the record. I hope he is good. But I'd have welcomed him, but I still just think it's like they get a little bit bored and think, there's a few hours left, should we just get anyone? What's Michy Batshuayi saying? Let's get him on the phone. So it felt unnecessary. I was fairly relieved when it fell through, which I guess is a sign that it wasn't for me. This Ribeiro, don't know anything about him. So has he got a role to play this season? Is he for the youth team or one for the future? There's an option to buy at the end of his loan. I don't know. I think we needed a stable and sensible transfer window in terms of incomings. And I don't know if you already read out the people going out, Jacob.
No, I can do that in a second, my mate.
Yeah, you do that. You're going to read that. So if you talk about the balance of it, I guess it's maybe what we needed. But you read the loans out and outgoings, and then we'll rate the transfer window out of 10.
Yep. So on a permanent, Gustavo Scarpa has gone back to Brazil. He was obviously already on loan at Olympiacos as well. Ethan Horvath has gone to Cardiff City on a permanent, and Serge Aurier was announced today as a Galatasaray player. On loan, Emmanuel Dennis has gone to Watford. Scott McKenna is living life large in Denmark at FC Copenhagen. Jonathan Panzo, I do not know, JJ. Do you?
Standard Liège, maybe.
Let's have a look. Jonathan Panzo is at Standard Liège. Very nice.
Good,
Alex
good
Michael's
guessing going on.
he's gone to Vale Park to play for Port Vale. Brandon Aguilera has gone to Blackburn, correct?
Nope. Try again.
Rovers?
Bristol Rovers.
Bristol Rovers? That far
Yeah,
down?
so that's a good coup for them.
Are they in League One? League One, aren't they?
League
'Cause they had
One.
that Joe Barton, they won 7-0 or something, didn't they? Oro Mangala. This is the real stinker of the window for me. So Oro Mangala has gone on loan to Olympique Lyon in France. I think it's 10 mil up front and a guaranteed 20 million permanent. No,
Option to buy. So, I guess, yes, that was my reaction too. I guess the worst thing that could happen is we get 10 million for our player and he comes back into the squad. The best thing could be that we get 30 million for him. I guess the worst thing that could happen is we give our best player up for the sake of the 10 million, who could have made an impact, and we go down, and then they decide not to take him anyway. So, weird business for me. Very, very weird business.
well, he's one of them ones where I thought that if we got 30 million for him straight out, I'm not particularly happy about it, but
You'd swallow it for a guaranteed 30 million, I think. 100%.
I think I would. The longer this whole thing has gone on, the more I can't help but feel that we've got rid of our best performer this season for a loan for 10 million. It's not like it's enabled us to bring in great quality. We've got the 15th choice goalkeeper that we eyed up. We've got Christian Pulisic's mini-me and a Portuguese kid that nobody's ever heard of, and I'm glass half full. And we've lost our best midfielder. And I know we have to balance the books, and I'm perfectly happy if that's what's happened. But a loan of 10 million plus a possible 20 isn't 30 million cash that we can reinvest or save us from another possible breach. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure he'll do very well out there, and I'm sure the option will be triggered, no problem. But I just think maybe see if the interest sparks back up in the summer, keep him for the rest of the season rather than giving them the option. It just feels bizarre to me to get rid of him.
I have wondered if there's been extenuating circumstances, like he needs to move closer to home because obviously he's Belgian, isn't he? I think my French geography isn't the best, but I think Lyon is towards that part of France that's near Belgium. No, not really. I'll shut up. But
good point, Jacob.
He's actually way further away from Belgium right now. So I just
Ruby didn't like that.
Tavares just comes galloping through. No.
Tavares is at the door. She's fuming. It's all right. We'll save you.
Allegedly. Apologies for my French geography, everyone. But yeah, I want, he may have family that way. I think I've seen a video of him speaking French. So,
speaking of your French geography, Jacob, tell me where Lens is on the map. The team.
Lens,
because there's a certain person.
I'm looking at the map right now, but it's not on. Oh yeah, don't.
There's a certain person within that I would have taken.
I sent you a message, didn't I, Joshua? I sent you a message saying there's only one keeper we should be signing from France.
Yes. Who I was listening to the Forest All Over podcast earlier, and they went through his stats, and he was in the 99th percentile last season in League 1, making him the best.
Lens is next to Belgium.
Oh, there you go. They could have done a little swap. This is the content you need on a Forest podcast.
This is what you need.
Geography.
Yeah. Any geography questions, you send them into us.
Rodrigo Ribeiro, he came from Portugal.
That is next to Spain.
Right. I'm glad we're clarifying these things.
Finger on the pulse, mate.
Yes. Okay. I think, right, rating, transfer window rating out of 10. Give me it.
3. A very
generous. You really mean that?
Yeah. What is there to change my mind? We lost our best midfielder. We got rid of some deadwood. Brandon Aguilera's in League One, despite looking really bright. Maybe a 4 because we got rid of some deadwood. There you go. JJ?
Yeah, I think 4's about right, actually, on reflection. It's not
He
great, is
wanted
it?
to argue. He wanted to. Everyone.
I did want to just counter your opinion, but it's not great. Gio Reyna might not work out. Hopefully it does. Matt Sells might not work out. Hopefully it does. And Ribeiro, I just can't see where he fits. So I think when you're in desperate need of, and I know it comes with a caveat of we needed to be sensible and not go crazy. I think there's a way of doing that and possibly getting the same amount of people in whilst adding more quality is probably the better way of saying it. So, yeah.
It could be the transfer
Uninspiring.
window we needed. It could be the one we needed where we there's no disruption and everybody settles in, and that's fine and that's great. And I think that'd be, more power to us. But I just
guess we'll see. In a few weeks, we'll have hindsight. We'll be able to tell, but it's looking a bit bleak out there when you look at the table. You look at our upcoming fixtures, and you look at the possibility of a points deduction. So possibly a bit more quality might have steered us in the right direction, but it is what it is, as they say in the industry. So fingers crossed
it is what it is, Natalie.
It's that's an impression of Billy Davis, by the way, not someone from the Russian
Everybody
mafia.
knew, mate. Come on.
It was Russian, which isn't their Belgium. But yeah, fingers crossed. Speaking of things looking bleak, Jacob, the next game we've got is against Bournemouth.
Bournemouth, who are unbeaten against us in the last. I'm looking at the stat. Where is the stat, JJ?
We're prepared on this podcast. It's a shambles.
The last 7 games against Forest, Bournemouth have won 5, drawn 2.
Christ.
And we have won just one of our last 9 away league games against Bournemouth, a 2-1 victory 10 years ago.
Wow. At what point do you pull out the least possession fact?
That game with Henry Lansbury.
Yeah, go on.
We had the least % possession in the championship for a win. It was. I don't know if it's still a record, but it was at the time under Dougie Friedman. I think that was the game when I decided not to renew my season ticket that season.
Yeah, probably wise. Yeah, Bournemouth. Is there a team you want to face less right now than Bournemouth?
Well, they play well, don't they? They're a very different, almost a throwback brand of football. Very put it into the corners and chase it down, and they hunt like a pack. It's taken a bit of time for Iraola's methodologies and tactics to sink in, but now it's in. Yeah. They're playing really well.
I thought he was as good as recently. If you can call it that.
Spurs, Liverpool,
2 losses to Liverpool and Spurs, and a draw against West Ham, I think is fair enough. Mm-hmm. Their last 5 games, for those that are listening, are draw against West Ham, loss v Liverpool, loss v Spurs, a win against Fulham, and a win against Forest.
Why we only played them 5 games ago? Why are we playing them again?
Yes, and we play Newcastle as well, and we played them Boxing Day. So it's a bit weird. Yeah, I mean, I thought their manager was as good as done at the start because it felt like it just wasn't working. But they're playing some good stuff. They're winning games. They're winning a lot of games. And Solanke looks very good, unfortunately. Teams like Forest make him look better for him to bang free in. But I just feel like they're a team that I just don't want to play at the minute. They're a form team. I think Bournemouth as a club are inconsequential to the grand scheme of things. So fair play to them for doing as well as they have done in recent years. A bit Brentford-esque, I guess, in that respect. But yeah, just a really important game. We need a win. We need to get some points from somewhere. And I'll be honest with you, not too sure I can see it coming against Bournemouth.
I think it'll be I think with the way we play and the way they play, I think it'd be an interesting game. I think we'll be under the cosh a lot of the game, but I think if we can play as close to our strongest team as possible, I think we'll have very strong counter-attacking options and possibilities and chances and things like that. So, I'm going to say 2-2, JJ. What are you going to say?
I'm hoping we get something from it. I think at the minute draws aren't enough, but draws are better than a loss. So I'm going to go for 1-1. I think it's going to be difficult. Debuts for Rayner and Sells, you'd imagine, or you'd hope. If that team sheet gets announced and Turner's in net, then I will have a meltdown.
Newsflash, you'll be having a meltdown anyway, folks.
I will be having a meltdown anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, just can't be bothered, Jacob. I really can't.
I think this might be the game where we see a change of formation. I think the way they play with how much they get it out to the wide places, I think we could see a back five, wing backs and wide centre backs.
Well, Felipe is back. Nice bit of experience sandwiched between two young.
I think that's worth shouting out, JJ. I think Omobamidele and Murillo is a really burgeoning partnership.
Yeah,
I don't think they've done much wrong.
No.
Murillo is as close to a 10 out of 10 versus Arsenal as you could probably get as well.
Made more saves than Matt Turner did. Blocked everything. Had a great game. Omobamidele's really impressing me. For those that don't watch him, just watches the way he commands the back line. For someone so young, he definitely feels a bit captain material to me.
He plays like a young Vincent Kompany. Kompany was he tried when the ball comes into the striker, he tries to almost comes in at the angle and gets his foot in, kind of gets it away. It's very, very similar to how Kompany used to play when he was younger.
I thought they were great against Arsenal, and I bet they were fuming at Matt Turner at the end of it. All that hard work, great performance, and they came away with nothing. So yeah, it is worth shouting out. They look like a really exciting partnership. If we can keep Murillo for as long as we can, maybe get another season out of him, then that too will look very, very good. But yeah, a bit of experience in between them wouldn't hurt if we did go for a back five, be that Felipe, Niakate, Bolle.
Bolle's back yet? Are they playing tomorrow? We're recording this Friday night. I think they're playing tomorrow, Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
Ivory Coast are playing against Mali, 5 o'clock tomorrow.
And me. Sad film that. Anyway.
How close to Belgium is that?
Probably not very close. Jacob, it looks bleak at the minute. Luton are close to us with a game in hand after just thrashing Brighton 4-0. The return of the AFCON players, do you think will be okay?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think Luton are just hitting a purple patch. Every team does it. I think ours is to come.
Every team does it. Hopefully,
every team has always hit a purple patch. I'm not saying how long that purple patch has lasted. There's only one team that's never had a purple patch. JJ,
and who's that?
Derby County with 11 points. Zing!
Yeah, I thought as much.
Lots of avoidable goals that season.
Yes. So you're going for 2-2. A Desmond, I'm going for 1-1.
For a TAIWO.
For a TAIWO, a 1-1. Yeah. This has not been our best episode, I'll be honest with you. This is a calamity. On that note, Jacob, I think maybe we'll put them out of their misery and let them go.
Yeah. Remember, if you have any geography questions in the chat, if you want to guess which Max and Paddy quote I made JJ Howe with laughter at, and don't worry about Ruby, she's fine. JJ would not let Nuno Tavares anywhere near her. If you're listening for the first time, thank you very much for finding us, and if you've come back again and again and again and again and again and again and again, God knows we love you. Yes.